Hey, J.C Agajanian here, broker associate with eXp, top grossing agent with the Whissel Realty Group, summarizing for you the mastermind that the Fast Forward Network put together for us each week. Let's get straight into it.
What's happening? It's Monday, which means it's time to recap another Monday morning mastermind with the Fast Forward Network. And today we covered two primary topics. First one is growing your business year over year. And secondly, something that some of us may be unfortunately encountering on our own, which is how to deal with stale listings. So let's get straight into it. First one, how to deal with stale listings in this market. The first thing that I did was actually chime in myself and contribute to this mastermind because I happened to go through a difficult experience when the market turned so drastically in such a short amount of time in mid-June. So basically I had at least a few different clients that we were working with that had comped out properties and prepared the home for sale in mid to late May, put the market on the property in early June, and then the world explodes and the entire market changes halfway through June. So it was a difficult situation because all the clients that I was working with at the time had different expectations than what we were now encountering. We went into it with one set of guidelines, and halfway through, the market changed, and now we had to adjust to a new set of guidelines. So what do we do? Well, I did a lot of things. First of all, it started with a lot of research. I went to Showing Time, for example. We were able to go into the Showing Time system and pull up market trends on exactly how many homes are being showed on a monthly basis. Did you know that? It's cool. It's free. It's available to you if your MLS cooperates with Showing Time and uses it as the primary source for scheduling showings on your listings. So I showed that. I also went into a detailed graph about mortgage rates in general and showed the calendar, first of all, the timeline from when we had a meeting about pricing and to the time we're at now, and then overlay that with this chart of rates just skyrocketing in a short period of time. So we're educating the client on what has changed basically in this difficult time. So they see that it is not them that's done anything wrong. It is nothing wrong with their property, and it's not me failing them in any way. We are learning about new circumstances in this market. In addition to that, we went back and did a new set of CMAs, and all together came to a common understanding that the old expectations need to go away, and we had to restart with new expectations, and that's what we did. Unfortunately, almost all these properties we ended up having to sell more than once because buyers fell out. This was a turbulent time in the market in general, and we experienced that ourselves. But they did all end up successful with homes sold and happy sellers when it was all said and done. So that was one of the most intense situations I've had in real time with clients, having to adjust to a live change in the market right then and there. Normal markets, maybe you've got a property that's got some time on it or something, it's probably something else. What we experienced was very unique and specific, and it posed a whole new set of challenges, and I was really glad that we were able to navigate our clients through that. So what else can we do in more typical situations where you've got a listing that's maybe a little stale and you need to adjust the price or do something different to get the property sold? Well, first of all, we can keep it simple. We can just really go in and focus on the feedback. What do I mean by that? Well, let's make sure that we are getting agent feedback on each showing, first of all. That's important. And you basically just tally up every bit of feedback you can and present it to the seller and be like, look, this percentage of people, let's say it's 50, 60, 70%, 80% of people, whatever the number is, feel that your home is overpriced, right? So it's not me feeling this way. It's just the pure market telling us what's happening. So if we've got all these people telling us one thing, then we need to just go ahead and follow that. And part of that goes, regardless of the circumstances, setting expectations for the client, both seller and agent as a team, to listen to and respond to the market once it hits the market, once the property is activated. Because we can do the best we can in consulting them, telling them what our marketing strategy is, what we think the pricing strategy ought to be, and how to prepare the home for sale. But ultimately, in my opinion and the seller's opinion, it's not exactly the most important. What really matters is how the market responds, and we have to be able to be nimble and to respond accordingly when that comes. And so when you come back and say, look at all this data, all these buyers have come through your property, none of them think it's listed at a compelling enough price to write, well, then we got to make a change. The other thing is to kind of just disregard the positive feedback. What we are looking for is negative feedback if this home has not sold. So lots of agents just want to be nice, or they want to say all the things that are great about the home and not really go into it. Or sometimes they're just lazy and they say, oh, they like this, they like that. Sorry, it didn't work out for them. We've got to track them down and pin them down and follow up and find out why their client is not writing on our offer on our property, right? And if they're not going to, what is it about the home? Is it price? Is it something else that's going on? Sometimes you'll get just funky responses like, oh, client didn't like the flooring, or the paint wasn't the right color, or something silly like that, right? Like, just doesn't make any sense, because every home needs to be somewhat customized to a new buyer when they move in. So a great question to hit that agent with is, okay, listen, if that was not an issue, if that was fixed or whatever it is, or let's say that's still the existing circumstances, at what price would that not be an issue for them, right? Like, because that's what we want to know, and that's the feedback we need to get to our seller. At what price would this flooring change that you need to do that you feel is so important not be a factor at all? So that's how we can pull figures from agents who are being either dismissive, lazy, or just trying to be nice when they're giving our feedback. Okay. Now the conversation kind of shifted to a little bit of a subtopic within the same topic, which is like, what's happening when the client comes to me and they say, well, I feel like if I reduce this price, I'm going to be losing all this money. And that's kind of a common thought process from a lot of sellers. We kind of have to hit them gently, but solidly, by saying, listen, if the property is not selling at this price, are you really losing the amount we're reducing it by? That's not a figure anymore. The market is telling us that that's no good. So we have to go ahead and adjust. And that is not lost money. That was a hope that doesn't any longer exist, because this is the new circumstances that we're working under. It's a difficult conversation, and clearly you're going to have a lot more kindness and gentleness than what I just said to you. But that's the way it has to go. So also you can revise. Hopefully you've had this conversation up front, but going back to the expectations again of explaining to the seller, like, listen, we need to have at least 2 to 4 showings per week from other agents on this property. Otherwise, that's the market telling us that not only is the price wrong, but even the photos and the presentation are not compelling enough to get them in the property. Okay. And then we need to have offers within 8 to 10 showings. And if those offers don't come in after a solid amount of showings on the property, that's telling us maybe there's something about the property itself that is a turnoff. Maybe the yard's too small, or maybe it needs to be opened up because of the walls, or whatever the case may be. Sometimes it's just a matter of flooring and paint, like the earlier example. But whatever it is, oftentimes if we've got a good amount of showings coming through the property but no offers after a good amount of showings, it's not necessarily the price in the online presentation, it's the in-person presentation that's not compelling them to write offers. Explaining the situation, explaining circumstances is important. The final thought on this topic is that we're really here as agents to do only a couple things. We're here to establish and maintain solid relationships with our clients, and we're here to get the home sold, right? So the key is communication, and we need to make sure that we explain everything with regular updates to our clients. If nothing is happening at the property, we need to explain that. If we have advice that we'd like them to take for us to move and do something with the listing, we need to explain that. If it's just a matter of explaining how many showings and what happened at the open house over the weekend, we've got to do that. A minimum of once a week when you've got a live listing, if not more, needs to be communicated with those clients so that they know that you're working for them, that you've not just taken that listing and forgotten about them and said, hopefully it'll sell soon, peace, I'll let you know when we get some action. That is not the way to handle things. So that's the first part of maintaining the solid relationships with your clients, because you want to not only do a good job for them while they're in that transaction, you want them to buy or sell with you again in 5-10 years from now, and you want them to refer their friends and family. So that is crucial, not only to do a good job for them, but to help you grow your business, which transitions us into the next topic. But before we do, part of the education and the communication throughout the listing goes back to some of the metrics that we were talking about just a minute ago. So if we've got no showings at all, we likely could be off as much as 10% on this price. right? And if we have good showings but no offers, we could be off as much as 5%. So giving metrics with showing expectations, open house expectations, and pricing as far as market response is going to be a huge way to recruit the seller to be on your team to do the right thing to get the property sold. Now we'll transition to the second topic that we had in the mastermind this morning, which was growing your business year over year. So first of all, one of the things that was brought up is that you have to have a diversified source of business, meaning various pillars, almost like legs that hold up a stool to support your business. For example, if sphere of influence and referrals from those friends and past clients and family that you have is your primary source, well, you can grow that. And there are great systems to follow to really, influence more referrals and that type of business. But you're probably going to be capped at about a 5% growth from one sphere like that specifically. From one pillar, specifically the sphere of influence and those things affiliated with it. So what we need to do is, that's going to be the main one for most people, right? Everybody has their intimate sphere that they grow over time. But we've got to add others. And there are some that cost money, and there are some that cost time and energy. So, things like pay-per-click, Facebook ads, really focusing on your CRM. Some low-cost lead generators, of course, open houses are a huge one that are more sweat equity as opposed to check equity, right? But when you do an open house, let's go ahead and make the most of it, right? First of all, let's do all the activities around it. We're going to be door knocking. We're going to be having branded signs. We're going to be putting it out on social, maybe putting a little money behind that social ad for that open house. And we're going to, make phone calls around it. We're going to do emails. We're going to do postcards around it. To really make the most of an open house, you're going to do all those things. Now, I know we started by saying low-cost lead generators, and then we added on a bunch of things that cost money. But you can add or subtract depending on what your budget entails. But to really blow it out, there's a whole list of things that you can do around an open house to gain business from it. And then a lot of those things need to be repeated throughout the coming soon, on market, pending, and sold status of that listing. For sale by owner campaign is another great way that you can put some sweat equity as opposed to check equity into your business and create another pillar. If you really feel comfortable with hammering phones and getting scripts down and knowing how to speak to people and then knowing how to present once you come in, like even if you don't know all those things, you can learn them. Those are skills that people can acquire. They are not things that people are born with. So, a little hard work, a little focus, and you can do this with little to no money out of pocket at all. One of the teams that contributes and participates in this mastermind that we're a part of said that he had 79 homes sold just from opens over the past year. That's crazy, And what they do is they'll do multiple opens, even in that first week. They'll have a Saturday, Sunday open. They'll have a morning, afternoon open. They'll just go overboard. And so what this does is it allows plenty of time for people to come through the home. It also, demonstrates to the neighbors that this team is doing something different. This team is going all out. They're willing to hustle and grind to get this property sold. And if you add to it the door knocking, the phone calls, maybe text drops or voicemail drops, whatever else it is you're doing, you're really going to stand out to the neighbors in that community. Sticking with the open house topic for a minute, let's talk about signs. First of all, it is so worth your money to pay someone to put them out for you. The last thing you want to do, especially in the summertime, is to be running around, hustling to get these signs put up, racing to get into that house, to get it unlocked, get all the lights turned on, hopefully turn on the air conditioning if it has it, get your signs, your open house flyers put up, maybe some waters, whatever else you're catering with, get the music set, get your sign-in sheet going, not only to have people knocking at the door before you're actually ready. You're hot, you're sweaty, you're unprepared, and you're stressed. That is a terrible situation, and if you've done any amount of open houses, I'm sure you've felt that experience. I know I've gone through that plenty. Pay someone to put your signs up. It seems like a lot of money. Usually costs anywhere from $50 to $200, depending on how many signs you're putting up and in what market you're working in. It is worth it. You show up relaxed, half hour early, get everything set up, check it out, maybe hit up the seller for their Wi-Fi, make sure everything's dialed in. You've got your stuff set up, maybe have a glass of water yourself. ready to open the door when that open house starts, and ready to meet and greet. This is what you're here for, is to network, and it's showtime, and you are the star. This is how your mentality ought to be with the open house. It's your opportunity. You've got signs out, and by the way, when you have those signs put out, let them marinate. Get those things out at 7 a.m. Let them sit all day long. This is your billboard for the day, so why not take advantage of it? And if you're doing back-to-back open houses and you're not going to have trouble with the local municipality, let them sit overnight. Let people see your name and face as much as possible. So let them marinate, let them put them out there, get them out there early. And like I said, think about this open house as your pop-up shop for the day. You're here, you're putting on a show, and you're on display, and you're doing your job. You've got to have that attitude. That's the mindset behind you going into this open house, as opposed to, crap, I hate open houses. I'm going to go do this. I'm going to put in a couple hours and then be done, get on to my day, hit the beach or something. That is the wrong attitude, and you might as well not do it. I mean, come on. Have the right mindset, and get your signs put out. And a thing that we've talked about plenty of times is doing specific open houses for different people. We often do neighbors only opens, and we will have special catering that maybe isn't available for the public. We're going to do a special event. It's at a different time. I've done it on different days. You can do it the day before and then come back the next day for a public open. I like the idea of doing them back to back. So maybe a typical time during the day for an open and an evening open before people are off to do something on their weekend evening, or even vice versa, maybe a late morning thing specifically for neighbors, and then the public open after that. It's a little more time effective and makes better use of your time when you're doing it. But the idea is to do something special for people in the neighborhood, to get the looky-loos who are just neighbors that want to see the property out of the way. So when you're in a regular open house, you're talking to buyers. So you've got a different mentality. On one open, you're talking to potential sellers and looky-loos, and on the other open, you're talking to potential buyers. So your whole mindset, the scripting, the dialogues in your mind are going to be more focused, as opposed to not knowing what's happening because you just did one open house on the whole first weekend. So splitting them up, providing some incentive, maybe have some gift cards or some sort of raffle for the neighbors that are going to come through. Make sure you pump that traffic up. And sometimes food and drinks isn't enough. Sometimes it is. Whatever the case, check it out. Most important out of all of this, don't skip the follow-up. You've got to follow up just like any other lead. If it was a pay-per-click lead or a Zillow Flex lead or an Opcity or anything else that came in, you've got to work this, throw it in your database, and work it like any other lead, because just because you had one good conversation with someone face-to-face does not mean that they are going to remember you or work with you in the future. You've got to follow up like they are any other lead in your system, and you've got to work them. What you do have on your side is you do have a good face-to-face conversation that started that thing out, which is different than most other leads. So you've got a good launching place, but it doesn't mean you can replace the rest of your typical activities with lead generation. Okay? On that topic of follow-up, take the time before you leave the open house to shoot a quick selfie with all the people that you think you really need to have top priority follow-ups with. Shoot them a video, if not every single person that came through, but we all know some people are, not in the market at all, and they're not necessarily someone you need to track down. But anyone who has any sort of potential, shoot a quick video of yourself in front of the home. They see you're still there. Hey, it was great meeting you today. Just wanted to be able to have you, remember who I was, throw my phone number in your contacts so that when I call in the future, it won't look like a strange number. I look forward to talking to you down the road. Something to the effect, or thanking them for coming by. It doesn't really matter what it is that you say. What matters is you put that video, not just a text or phone call, a video out to them via text when it's said and done, so that when you do follow up, you're going to have a warmer welcome to those follow-up calls. After all of this is said and done, we're talking about growing our business year over year. We're talking about adding business. We're talking about adding pillars to help support the business so that you have it coming in from different directions. But we need to know that we are building something to suit a lifestyle goal that you have. Now, everybody has different goals, and just blindly growing bigger and bigger is not the point. Some people only want to sell this many properties because they have a different focus with the other part of their time, whether it's work-life balance or some sort of nonprofit or ministry they're working on, or whatever it is. People have different things going on. And if your goal is not to become the next mega team, then be aware of that and have the goal in mind to grow your business into something that is going to be appropriate to your personal lifestyle and what you want to do. You know how much money you need to make, you know how much money you'd like to make. Build a business around that. Everybody's goals are different, and so you shouldn't be having the same goals as the person in the next county who is leading a team of 50 people if you are a solo agent who doesn't have that as your priority, and vice versa. Another final thought on building the business, and specifically the follow-up calls that we're talking about with the open houses and any other lead that goes with that, is just focusing on conversion. A lot of times we don't need more leads. We need better conversion. We need better follow-up. We need better appointment setting capabilities. And then we need to be able to better present value when we're in front of people to get them to say, yeah, you're my person. You know, you're my man, you're my woman that's going to take me through this process. So we can often, depending on how many leads you get flowing your way every month, a lot of people can exponentially grow their business just with better systems, structure, tools, and conversion, as opposed to more leads all the time. So keep that in mind as well. That's going to wrap up our mastermind for today. Hope it's helpful for you. And as always, if you'd like to join yourself, check it out, get in the mix with the conversation, just send me a DM and I'll be happy to get you an invitation. Talk to you soon.
Hey, thanks for checking out the video. I hope you found it valuable and that there's something in there that you can implement into your business today. If you'd like more information, I'd love to be a resource for you. I'd also love to connect you with the Mastermind directly if you'd rather see that instead of catching my recaps. And if you're interested in joining the Fast Forward Network, DM me here and I'll hook you up. Talk to you soon.